How's everybody doing? Doing good? Oh, come on. Come on. My name's Dustin Nispel. I am a York spoken word artist and freelance poet. I've been writing for approximately 15 years almost now. I've been performing for a solid decade. I'm originally from Dover, Pennsylvania, which I actually moved back to Dover 2 years ago. I'm living in Dover right now on the outskirts of York County, and I travel into the city quite often to perform. I also branch out down into Baltimore, Harrisburg, Lancaster, Lebanon, just wherever I can perform my artwork and, showcase the poetry that I create. This one's called Woven. This one is in my book. My rusty microphone sits in my musty hideaway home. Modest and honestly, the toughest piece of property I've ever owned, this old, rusty, trusty microphone, is my sage and my suffrage, my soul and my bones stripped of coverage, where I spit stitches from the pieces I've sewn and fit bridges with rhyme as leverage for overgrown pleasures holding my ledger stone. I lecture my microphone with abrasive textures and tones from the years of my broken hideaway home, where poverty makes a mockery of property and food has you properly groveling at the system's throne to merely subsist as you and your own vision of optometry. How I became interested in poetry? Well, I was a freshman at Dover Area High School, and I was in social studies class. I had skipped school earlier that week, so I missed the topics that we were supposed to write poems of. So they stuck me with this. There was two. It was like Adolf Hitler's Rise to Power and Kristallnacht, The Night of Broken Glass. So I chose Kristallnacht, The Night of Broken Glass, and I wrote a poem about it. Just, kind of breezed through it, didn't really give it too much thought. And then I turned it in, I got an A+, and Mrs. Stoller encouraged me to continue writing, continue pursuing this, because she actually really enjoyed my poem. And I was like, well, maybe I'll do this. So I started writing other things, about my personal relationships, about my home life. And I actually fell in love with poetry that year and how I was able to connect myself with those words. It was a sense of therapy going through that, those teenage years when you're trying to identify with yourself and your peers. And, it allowed me to have a secret life. It allowed me to be myself without anybody looking. And at that time I wasn't reading publicly or anything, so it was just for me and something fun that I really enjoyed doing, and it's stuck with me ever since, 15 years later. Spiraling, fighting for solid ground has been so incredibly tiring as social society voluntarily revolves around absent sobriety. See, you dumb us down and drown the truth, quieting, stunting generations of youth with bottles numbered 1 to 191 proof. You've shown mothers and fathers the loss of their sons and daughters. Loss of the lost is found in the bottom of bottles. Shipwrecked, shit-wrecked, toppled. Sit back, sip that, wobble, mix that, grip that bottle. You crutch to fix that hobble when stress levels fixed at full throttle. See, I was just a kid in need of a real role model, and you filled that problem with a 1-ounce glass found on a body down in debacle. And no preacher man, a Pentecostal, Baptist, or apostle, novel, or King James gospel had the words to pull me from that bottle. Wow. Poetry slam. Well, slam technically has a 3-minute time limit. It's rapid fire, it's memorization. You're normally in a competition when you're doing slam poetry for, a trophy or a cash prize of some sort. And slam is, there can be no mess ups or you get docked points. You can't stumble or you get docked points. You can't pause, you have to make eye contact. It's theatrical poetry, and it has to be delivered on point for you to even make it into the semifinals. So there's a lot of pressure with slam versus spoken word. You go and perform it however you want. If you mess up, the crowd's like, oh, it's okay, But when you're doing slam, the pressure's on. Everyone has their game face on, and you're competing against other top-notch poets that are trying to take that prize from you, as well as you're trying to take that prize from them. So slam it's crunch time. I look at slam as crunch time, and I look at spoken word as relaxation. So slam is hurry up, win the prize, get it done, and deliver effectively. Spoken word is have fun with it. Show what you're capable of. If you mess up, it's okay. But love did. And with this decision to pour you out and execute with precision, I stand and grab the reins of revision to find the drive for the vision I've been missing. I wish to be drunk with ambition, and so it is that I listen to my intuition and cast you out with conviction that I may progress with this gift of life that I have been given. The Tower is the culmination of the last decade and a half that I have been writing. I have bins and bins of poetry at my house that I just kind of threw in there because they weren't good enough and I don't perform them or what have you. And so the Tower is, I'm a tarot reader. I'm a certified tarot reader. I've been reading tarot cards for about a decade as well. And the Tower usually comes up in a trying situation. It is the collapse of everything that you've built because of a weak foundation, which I've gone through a lot of trials, a lot of loss, just developing myself as an individual and as a person and trying to find my spot in this world. And it now seems that I have a solid foundation of who I am and what my goals are. So the Tower is, to me, it symbolizes the struggle that it took me to get to where I am today and the lessons I learned along the way. And now that I have a strong foundation and a strong sense of who I am, I don't have to watch it fall apart anymore. So the Tower is a culmination of all of my poetry that I've been writing. Not all of it, just my favorite ones and the ones that I feel that are up to par for publishing. And those life experiences during the last 13, 14 years of my life that have really shaped who I am as an individual and as a performing artist here in the area. This one is what my entire book is really dedicated to. There's a friend of mine who passed away on the 1st of January in 2011 in a freak car accident. He fell asleep behind the wheel on his way home from a show. And he wasn't drinking, he was the DD. And we were friends for 20 years, and he died at the age of 21. It's called Jeremy David. The message of my poems is that throughout your life, you're going to have the hard knocks hit you. You're going to have the losses and the dark times that, you know, we all go through, and we all, most of us, persevere through them. But the message of my poetry is to keep trucking. You know, no matter what happens in this world, you're still alive, you're still learning the lessons that life is here to teach you. And even though there may be some dark times bringing you down, it will get better. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's, my poetry is rather dark for the most sense because I write from personal experiences, and you know, I've had a lot of dark experiences, but those are inspirations for me, and it's a way for me to channel those dark experiences and bring them into the light that others may relate and feel a sense of upliftedness, that they may be able to progress through their struggles, that hey, I don't have to go through this alone, there's other people going through the same situation that I went through. And I think that's really what really defines my poetry, is that it is relatable. A few bottles in battle, and I found myself kneeling in topsoil and backfill soaking wet, but rain wasn't falling from skies, but behind sockets, holding back swollen eyes, the roaring wails of morning cast into the night. No, no, not like this. No, no, and I know it's no use, but I was strong all day, so please excuse my collapse, as I am the repercussion of reliving my relapse. I cut down every surrounding stone with my words and filled my hands with your dirt. This can't be happening. This can't be the way this ends. Every spirit was entitled but silent. No, God, please. I talk about the things that people don't necessarily want to talk about with my poetry. You know, addiction, death, loss. You know, those things are what, to me, has torn my tower down. The name of the book, The Tower, is, you know, my tower was in shambles, and then I had to start the reconstruction process again, and poetry allowed me to do that, to rebuild my self-esteem, to rebuild my confidence, you know, through those losses and through those challenges of adversity. I am beyond repair, lost in the mud of my despair, as no preparation could prepare the unaware. What do you think, Ralph?